Alright, what's going on, folks? The Old Soldier coming at you again today from Robeson County, North Carolina. Kind of a cool, crisp morning here. A bit cloudy. Clouds look snowy, it's just not cold enough snow. It gets a little colder, it might, but I don't think it's supposed to happen today. Anyway, enough of the weather report. What I want to do now is I want to share some more with you out of the book that I've been reading, like I said, The Naked Communist. And again, I highly encourage everybody to get a copy of this before they stop letting them be printed. I want to talk about Castro's involvement as a Soviet agent in the Bogota riots, and I'm quoting it straight out of the book. That way I don't get in some copyright infringement crap. But it goes to read, in April 1948, the eyes of the world were watching Bogota, Colombia, where the 9th Inter-American Conference was to be held. It was under the direction of the U.S. Secretary of State George C. Marshall. And this occasion was chosen by the Soviet strategists to stage a communist-directed insurrection. It was to unseat the conservative government of Colombia and break up the Inter-American Conference. Alberto Nino, security chief of Colombia, published a book in 1949 on this insurrection. And he has much to say about Fidel Castro. Nino described how Castro and Rafael del Pino were put under surveillance the moment they arrived at the airport. The two men came as, listen to this, replacements for two Russian agents that were stationed in Cuba, whose plans were known and who were expected by the Colombian police. Instead, stand by, sorry about that interruption. All right. Again, there were replacements. Instead, Castro and Del Pino came in place of those Russian agents. And before the 9th of April, a telegram was sent from them announcing the arrival of the Russians, of one of the Russians. Nino and his men found the planned insurrection was not being led by the Communist Party of Colombia, but by a group of international, say that again, international communists who worked out of the Soviet legation in Bogota. There were 9 of these international communists who fronted the Soviet apparatus. Fidel Castro and Rafael del Pino were just 2 of the 9. So when the insurrection struck, it was triggered by having communist agents kill Dr. Jorge Gatan, the most popular political leader in Colombia at the time. And there were communist handbills printed in advance, blamed the murder on the government and urged the people to avenge themselves by sacking the city. Within an hour, Bogota was converted into a holocaust of violence and flaming devastation. Nino found the Soviet apparatus had arranged to have a crew move through the city ahead of the mob, smashing off locks and opening stores and warehouses. And after the mob had looted the buildings and another crew went through spraying gasoline on the floors and the walls. And the last stage was to have trained arsonists methodically burn the structures which ultimately gutted the center of the city. And when it was all over, the destruction of the Civic Center was complete. The Palace of Justice, which contained most of the civil and criminal records, was demolished to its foundations. Colleges, church, stores, and other public buildings were burned. Altogether, 136 major buildings were destroyed, representing a loss of more than $21 million. And after the battles between the police and mobs had subsided, more than 1,000 corpses were left lying in the streets. And some of Castro's biographers have tried to gloss over Castro's complicity in this terrible destruction, but the files the Bogota police has in its possession with a photograph of the 2 Cubans identifying them as first-grade agents of the Third Front of the USSR. It was further discovered that Castro and Del Pino were apparently the ones assigned to arrange the murder of Jorge Gatan, and their activities became so completely exposed that President Perez went on a nationwide broadcast to denounce the 2 Cubans as communist leaders in the insurrection. When it became obvious that the insurrection failed, Castro and Del Pino left quickly for Cuba. Now, the reason I want to share that to you, for those out there that might have some lingering doubt that BLM and Antifa are civic-minded They're taking a play out of the communist playbook. They're finding an issue to riot about. And obviously BLM, they choose the lowest scum-sucking vagrants of the earth to martyrize and heroize and torch, loot, and murder. And Antifa will use any excuse. Now, you noticed in there was an article, a part of it that stated how a party or a team went through knocking off locks to doors and warehouses. Think about the initial riots where people showed up and bricks had been mysteriously delivered a day or two beforehand. We look at St. Louis, we look at Baltimore, we look at multiple cities across the U.S., number of places that got burned. The only difference is they haven't started committing murders yet. And who knows, maybe they have, they just haven't figured out who's done it. But at the end of the day, make no bones about it, BLM and Antifa are armed militants of the new American Communist Party that's coming to power. Now, more than likely, if things continue to progress the way they are, the new Communist Party may do what the Nazis did in the middle 30s and purge the brown shirts. If you recall, if you've studied your history, Hitler went through and purged his brown shirts after he got complete power because he wanted to do away with the ultra extreme radicals. I'd have to go back and look at my book, but there was a reason why he purged the brown shirts, and it really had to do with fear of somebody trying to usurp his power. Okay? Much like Stalin did with his army and politicians. Okay? It's all about power. But I wanted to share that with you today. As I was going through my reading of this book, and that one kind of stuck out in my mind as just a case example of how Antifa and BLM have used the communist playbook to their advantage. And the sad part is we have turned a blind eye to it. Our law enforcement agencies, our government, won't call it what it is. They're afraid to. For those that are still in government, that truly still love our nation, but are scared to come out and say it for fear of losing their job. Okay? And again, that goes back to what I asked yesterday, the day before. What are you prepared to sacrifice? What are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to give up? How far are you willing to go in the name of freedom? So, anyway, short, quick, to the point this morning. I've got to go work on digging a clean out for my septic tank. I'm tired of lifting the concrete lid off to dump my porta potty every time the camper fills up. So, got to do that this afternoon, and I got to do some other things. Seeing how I'm unemployed. Yep, you heard it. So that's the other thing I got to do. I got to look at maybe finding some part-time work. Didn't have enough students to run the semester, so for my program, now the school's still running, but for what I teach, nope. And I blame that on the powers that be that run the college, the public schools, Robeson County, and the Robeson County high schools, because they just don't seem to have a good communications or lines of communications with one another to disseminate information properly in a timely manner. But I digress. Anyway, folks, that is what it is, but we'll be all right. So until tomorrow, God bless, take care. Keep your ear to the ground, your eyes open. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay safe, stay vigilant, stay armed. Old soldier out.